Hi, everyone, and welcome to Val Talks Pets, the forum for pet parents and enthusiasts alike. Having been in the pet industry for almost 10 years now, I am going to share with you issues and questions that arise as I work with pet parents on a day-to-day basis. I am not a veterinarian, but I do have certifications in canine, feline, small animal, fish and reptile, and avian health and nutrition from the University of California, Davis Extension. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Val Talks Pets. Well, in the last few episodes, I have been exploring alternative and complementary care for our pets. It's been quite a journey and one that I have always embraced. So I have with me on this episode someone I am very excited to talk to, and that is Theresa Gilligan, who is a certified Ayurvedic medicine practitioner. And if that's not enough, she is a certified Animal Neuro Myofascial Practitioner and practices Cranial Osteopathy. Theresa, I am so excited to have you with me. Welcome to Val Talks Pets.
Thank you, Val. It's a pleasure to be talking to you.
You are one very busy lady.
Yeah, it does seem that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure that you're needed in many, many different directions. You have quite a resume, and it looks like you're, the go-to person when someone is looking for solutions for their pet. So I thought what we would do is start with what you do and get you to explain to everyone sort of the amazing things that you do to help our pets, particularly using Ayurveda. And maybe you can go into that and explain how you got into it.
Yeah, you bet. So I practice Ayurvedic medicine. In fact, I have tailored, although I am certified to treat people, I have made my entire practice with animals. So I work with horses, and I worked with sheep, I worked with goats, and I work with dogs and cats as well.
I was going to ask you about that if you work with cats.
Not a lot. I find that we do deal, a little bit, but I would say that most of my practice would be made up with horses and dogs. But I do have the odd sort of farm animal that's around, and when I'm working with the horses, and so it kind of goes off in that direction as well. So, and I'm
sure.
Absolutely open to working with any animal for sure. So, and I do subsequently treat people as well. And it's usually the owners of the horses that I'm working with.
Yeah.
And so that I'm definitely open to that as well. It just takes a little longer in the schedule to incorporate the sort of that human element in my practice. But
okay.
So what I do with the medicine is we've got a shop here in Fort Erie, and we've developed some standardized products and a lot of custom treatment products that we do ship all over the world. But I do also travel around Ontario, and I'm usually in the States throughout the winter as well. And I do consults and physical treatments. And those physical treatments do, like you said, incorporate the neuromyofascial work, the cranial osteopathy, cranial sacral. I have a PEMF machine as well, and which we incorporate into the practice. And so it's sort of a one-stop shop, because the pillars of Ayurveda are not just the herbal medicine. They are, more importantly, the nutrition, and the body work. So it's very important to encompass all aspects of that during a treatment. One just is not enough.
So can we maybe define specifically what the direction is with Ayurveda? You've got the Kapha, the Veda, the Pitta. Maybe we can sort of let people know what that means.
Absolutely. So Ayurveda as a whole, it's a complete medical system. And it was developed in India over 5,000 years ago, and is in fact sort of transposed into different elements today, like homeopathy, traditional, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. They actually stem from the original basis or practice of Ayurveda. And so the goal is to achieve balance, to achieve health, and dynamic equilibrium is what we call this. And it's a matter of saying, look, the mental and physical components of health, when in balance, maintain order, all systems working. When those are out of balance, they create disease. And so what we look at is not just symptomatic approach, things I'm experiencing and so on. By that stage, you're into stage 4 or 5 of the disease process. Preservation of health by proper nutrition, time of the day that you're eating, seasonal things, like all of that is really important. we put the emphasis on preserving health and maintaining it, and versus just treating symptomatic approach.
I can see the three things that you're speaking about. What is Kapha, Vata, and Pitta?
The three doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now,
Okay.
you could essentially compare that to endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph. Sort of what we say is within the constitution is there's 5 energies, right? And that's ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And so within those 5 elements, we've sort of broken that down and said there's 3 main functional and physical energy that creates the function in the body. So all of us have all of 3 within us. But at birth, we have one that is what is called our prakriti. And that is what is our inherent genotype, essentially.
Okay.
And so there can be variation, but primarily when you see these variations, they are a combination of prakriti and vikriti. And the difference is phenotype, genotype. One is sort of at birth, and one is governed by environment, different, environmental factors and things like that. Influences, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so that is how the basis of our treatments in every way, right down to nutrition, is evaluating and determining those doshas. And we are all, from humans to animals to everything, we will resonate with one the most.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I can actually go into a little bit of detail and kind of just in terms of explanation, just a brief explanation of those doshas.
Yeah.
So what you have is Vata, the primary, I would say, the real mother of the dosha would be Vata. It and an energy that's associated with movement. So it's your ether and air, controls breathing, blinking, movement of muscle, pulsation of the heart, movement of cell membranes, this sort of stuff. It creates flexibility, creativity. But when out of balance, you get like anxiety and intense type of behavior. Think of border collie, real kind of neuroses almost. Physically, they can also be predisposed to dry cough, things like that. So with your pitta, it is your real fire temper. Governs some metabolic processes in the body. So digestion, absorption, assimilation of nutrients, metabolic factors, endocrine system, body temperature. They're real cracker jacks. I would say they're your Australian shepherds.
Okay.
Comparatively, I would say that is a really great explanation or
okay, yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very, very smart, loyal. And your kapha is it's like your steady Eddie, Great Dane, big golden retriever, by your side, loyal. Physically, their body, like physically, their function would be bones, tendons, their interstitial fluid, their synovial fluid, respiratory fluids, all of that sort of gluish kind of characteristics that are, that kind of stabilizing, unctuous, heavy, that sort of thing.
Okay. I like the way you put them into the breeds that go so that we can make, connection with that.
Absolutely. And of course, now you can have one breed that's, that you can, within one litter even, that is a Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. You absolutely can have that. But typically, you'll see that one breed is a little bit more characteristic of certain of that dosha. But they're bred that way, right? I mean, that's how they're bred to behave that particular way. They're not breeding. You're not breeding a Great Dane to be neurotic.
You're right.
But border collies, quite, they have a job, and they're inherently bred that way, and so of course their body function and energy will translate into that. So
I see. That's very interesting. I know this isn't about a pet, but I myself was told I was water.
So water. Okay. So now a pitta is water and fire, and a kapha would be your water and earth.
Okay. So interesting.
Yeah. And it's very, it can be a little difficult for people to it's not as simple as sort of taking website questionnaires and determining doshas. And the reason is because you get that fine line, that blurred line of Prakriti genotype and your Vikriti phenotype. And that's, it's difficult for people to sort of differentiate between what is actually occurring as a result of bioaccumulation in the body or environmental factors or influences creating those changes. So it's got to be looked at from a birth perspective in order to truly determine what your inherent dosha is. So.
Right, I see. So there's so much to know in this, but what made you go in the direction of Ayurveda? Like what brought you towards that for pets?
So I originally had my own sort of experiences where I was having some issues with my jaw. And nobody could give me any answers, to be honest. And finally, when they figured this out, and I had surgery after surgery, and it was just from grinding and clenching over the years. I was in corporate finance, and that was my background originally, and was actually headed to law school at one point. And so I was a very stressed type A. And I mean, at night I was clenching and grinding, and it destroyed the joints. And I ended up with, degenerative joint disease. And after 6 reconstructive surgeries that did absolutely nothing, they ended up amputating my entire jaw.
Oh my God.
And so I've got three metal plates each side and 30 screws each side. So it's quite an intense, but it was during that time that I also had a mare that I had bought, this beautiful Hanoverian mare, and she came with a bit of a cold, and it just manifested into something so much deeper and became obstructive airway disease. And so, yeah, it was debilitating for her. It was affecting her mentally and physically. And my vet, who is fabulous, since retired, he would just, they have what they have at their disposal, right? And it can be wonderful, but it's also just not a chronic palliative type treatments that are available for Western medicine. And so she was getting, all kinds of different dexamethasone shots and this, and it was like, well, what do we do? What is our end game here? And the end game was euthanasia. And I was just not okay with that. And I'm looking at myself, and I'm looking at, I'm looking at my horses and thinking, geez, there is a big gap here. Something's missing, and we need to, investigate this. And of course, there are so many options available and made more available for people, but not for animals. We're just not aware of it.
Right.
And so I sort of did a ton of research, and it was Ayurveda that really resonated with me.
Okay.
And I thought this was incredible. And so I just sort of took it to another level and just became educated, and through a wonderful school in actually based out of California, but its parent organization is in India. Called Kerala Ayurveda Academy.
This is where you got your certification?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Which is also the school that's hosting the doctorate program.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're in a doctorate program.
Well, it's currently on hold.
Okay.
Until we can resume, because I have to do clinical hours in India and so on. So.
Of course. Oh, so that means you're going to be doing a trip at some point.
But yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm very excited to do.
Yeah, but that's going to, definitely in the future.
Yes. Yep. Most definitely.
Oh my gosh. So then, so you're treating the pet as a whole, and the horse, the dog, whatever.
Yep.
So what kind of things do people, let's take dogs, for example, what is it that they come to you with that they're trying to find an answer to that they haven't been able to?
Let me give you a Coles Notes version of what our pathogenesis of disease, or what we call sympropty. Now, there is 6 stages to a disease. The first is accumulation. At this stage, and this is where what we have with Ayurveda is called sympropty. There's the 6 stages of the disease. And so the one is accumulation, and, aggravation. Then you have the spread and the circulation. Then you have the localization, manifestation, and differentiation. Now, the localization is when you start to see, when you take your animal to the vet, and you see, what, I'm really starting, my dog got hot spots, my dog's got, something's not right here. And there's some visible, observable issues with your dog, cat, animal in general. But that for us is the 4th stage of disease. And so this is what we're seeing. And of course, I'm contacted at this stage
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's actually gone on to be a manifestation stage, because what's happened is people will try, go the allopathic route, which is fabulous. And again, most cases in acute situations, well, in all cases with acute situations, that's where you go.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to really back it up, and we have to take it back to the beginning. And in order
Mm-hmm.
to do that, we have to look at what's happened, to follow the path of the disease. And that for
Okay.
each dosha is different. So by the time I see or I'm contacted for the animal, there's usually, like I said, noticeable, observable symptoms. And so they all have to do with the gut. They all start there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
every function, the entire body systems, physiological, biological symptoms, or a system, sorry, are actually initially, they're all governed by what happens in the gut.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and so this has become such a great topic in now of, I would say the last decade. There's been quite a lot of research put in on the Western medicine side, the
Mm-hmm.
connection of the mind gut connection, and that's fabulous. But it's the core of Ayurveda, the
Okay.
absolute core of Ayurveda. So I'm seeing, I would say skin, behavioral, and gut issues are what I'm the most seeing.
Okay.
And then of
Mm-hmm.
course, which in turn are allergies and all this sort of stuff. Like autoimmune disorders, I think are primarily what's sort of going out there and what I'm contacted and the most for.
I can tell you, people coming in, constant questions is there, the dog has been exhibiting allergies and they
Hmm.
have done absolutely everything.
You got
They
it.
have
Yep.
tried every food on the market, they have tried everything, and this
Yep.
dog is still itchy, scratching, losing its hair,
Yep.
and they are at their absolute wit's end.
Absolutely. And I, what, I see that all the time, Val. And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody does, right? I mean, it's one of those things, but we're missing the boat by not taking it back to the roots. And
Okay.
and that's the key. Okay, I'll give you an example actually
Yeah.
of a horse that I've just recently started treating. And I was contacted because the horse just was really struggling to breathe. It was on, steroids,
Mm.
really having a difficult time. Not They threw every single product at this horse and nothing would work. I met
Mm-hmm.
the horse. It's a kapha dosha. Well, the kapha dosha is all about congestion, stagnation, when out of balance. But the
Mm.
problem, and of course, originating in the stomach. Now,
Okay.
I said to her, we're not treating the respiratory ailment because that's not the problem. That's the symptom.
Okay.
So I'm treating the gut,
Okay.
and that's what we did. And the horse is well on its way. So
Really?
it's a matter of clearing the channels, allowing the circulation, clearing the ama from the body, which is toxins. We're on our way to healing, and the symptomatic breathing disorder is no more.
So you're finding that with, like, say, for dogs that are coming in with allergy issues that people just can't, are you finding that you're able to go back and figure out where this is
Absolutely. And
originating from and work
you
forward?
got it. And it stems from knowing the dosha and identifying the
Mm-hmm.
dosha, because allergies react and behave and express differently in all
Mm-hmm.
three doshas. So that's how
Okay.
we look at it. Yeah.
Oh.
And so that we look at and say the vata is very different than the pitta expression. The pitta expression, you see your real hot inflammation, red,
Mm-hmm.
burning, all this sort of stuff
Mm-hmm.
is really what you're going to see with your pitta. With your kapha is your itchy. You get that sort of real itchy. Vata is takes on a couple of different things. Primarily, you see it in stomach, dry skin, all this sort of stuff. But you really get the congestion, like any kind of respiratory, like congestion or wet cough. That's your
Mm-hmm.
kapha, and your vata is very much your dry cough. So for dogs, it does express. You see more of an expression when it's the pitta expression through the hot
Okay.
spots, right, and that sort of
Yep.
thing. But the itchiness, all of that is that you see through the kapha. That's your expression of allergies, and it is different. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of, at that stage when I'm seeing that, by identifying the horse's or the dog's dosha, I'm able
Mm-hmm.
to go back and determine the root cause, which is always gut.
In the gut.
And so we do this help with the symptomatic approach to help vitiate that dosha that's out of balance.
Yeah.
And then we treat right from the beginning. And it starts with
Okay.
nutrition, and a lot of times what we do and what I do for the dogs is I pull them off of their food and we pull on something very, very simple, like a mono diet. And it's, believe it or not, it's a lot of wheat. Dogs do exceptionally well on breads, milks, buttermilks, rice, fabulous. What they don't do well on is raw vegetables.
Okay.
So anything,
Interesting.
So anything raw is not raw food. I do feed. I'm a fan of raw food. But raw vegetables, same for people. It's a no.
Interesting, because some people say, as a little treat, as a snack, they give their pets, raw, if they'll eat it, carrots or whatever. They really like their broccoli or whatever. But funny that, because I've mentioned this before, we tried to fool our dog giving him a carrot and told him it was a cheesy. He took it and went, "That's not cheesy," and quickly spit that out. But he will not eat anything. No, he will not eat vegetables raw. If we gave him some carrots last night, but they're cooked, and he'll eat them, but he will not eat
their
it
own
raw.
intelligence is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. His body's telling him, "Don't
absolutely.
eat that."
And I mean, that's the thing with their smell, right? I mean, they have a horrible sense of taste. Dogs have a horrible sense of taste, but they have a fabulous olfactory response in the brain. So their scent, they determine what they want to eat, or the safety of what they're eating based on how it smells.
So why shouldn't they eat the raw vegetables?
It affects the stomach, and because they're not able to. Same with people though, actually, with vata doshas especially, they're not able to break it down. And so the work that it takes to break down that type of food, and again, different kinds of foods, but raw vegetables, it ends up not digesting, and it turns into ama, which is that sort of sticky toxin that coats cells and prevents. It's the ultimate cause of leaky gut.
It almost sounds to me like a fermentation going on in there somehow.
Yeah, but it doesn't even get to that stage.
Doesn't. Oh, okay.
It just prevents digestion and assimilation of nutrients, and it just becomes undigested food, which again is what the basis of intestinal permeability is. Is that the leaky gut dysbiosis.
So we have noticed, and you probably have too, actually, there's quite a rise of pets experiencing pancreatitis and also Cushing's. Have you had this?
Absolutely. And in fact, in horses too.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so again, the reason is the gut. It starts with the gut. There's a lot of information now out there. There's a lot of actually sort of awareness by podcasts and even some of these documentaries that are being done on the damage that these foods, certain commercial foods, are causing. But it's the impetus for the breakdown, the catabolism of all of the body's tissues. And so it equates to these type of endocrine system problems. The pancreas and your endocrine system function, which your Cushing's is all related. Your pancreas is part of your endocrine system.
Okay.
So it all is a direct effect or response to the damage being done in the gut. And so it's all related. It's the same system. And of course, through the enteric nervous system and how the function of the neurotransmitters and the hormones. And so it's breaking down the tissue. And that's what we're seeing is a rise in that endocrine system specifically.
So if you had someone come in and say, the vet has said that they think my dog has Cushing's, what do I do? What would be the first thing that you would do?
So if there's blood work, I review the blood work.
Okay.
And then I go through a series of questions: the breed, age, environment, current lifestyle, food. I go through all of everything. I want to know everything, because a lot of changes will occur on a real grassroots level. And so before I even give any medication, and the medication, of course, being herbal decoctions, medicated teas, this sort of stuff. And so when I determine where it is, we usually are able to determine where this started. And then, of course, I look at the symptoms, what's happening, and back it up. And then what I'll do with a dog like that is, if the nutrition is good, they've already made some excellent changes to to the nutrition. It's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just a matter of balancing that system. So I go right back to the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we have to do sort of a deepana pachana, which is sort of a bit of a cleansing in terms of digesting and igniting that agni or digestive fire, and we sort of get that going, and we're able to burn the ama that is creating the perpetual effects of the endocrine system breakdown. And then I treat, so it'll be it'll be a medicated ghee, or it'll
Mm.
be a decoction of sorts, and then we work through. And sometimes it's stages. Sometimes it's 1 week we need to do this, second week we initial, or sometimes it's just we just look at we do the gut, and we do the metabolic, and we sort of combine it, and it could be a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day treatment depending.
I see. I think that people that are already, that are coming to you, they're already open to the alternative options. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But say someone's gone off to the vet and they've been told the dog has pancreatitis or Cushing's or something, and they come to you. Have you found any pushback from the vets at all with the people that are incorporating what you do into the dog's health regime? Or have you found any pushbacks?
You do in certain cases.
Okay.
And it is very individual, because there is some progressive forward thinking that realize that, hey, the tide is turning, and there is a real benefit to integrative medicine. You have to work together for the betterment of the client, of the patient. And we see it in medicine on a daily basis now. And in fact, there's some of the greatest neurologists and surgeons and medical doctors also practice Ayurveda and are incorporating that into their practice. I have one, I'll throw out a name, one I absolutely love her. She's fabulous, Dr. Kulreet Chaudhary. And she's put out a book, actually. She's got a couple, but one, Sound Medicine. And she is a top-notch neurosurgeon. And she practices in India now, but she practices both. And things like meditation and so on are a fundamental part of her practice. People are starting to see that and starting to ask, hey, what are the options? So they are starting to open up a little bit. Some of them are absolutely fabulous. I actually treat several vets' dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's quite, in fact, right down to Florida. I mean,
That's awesome.
There's one I've successfully treated, prevented ACL surgeries with a protocol. And I'm, in fact, have done it with the vet's dog to prevent her dog from surgery.
Oh, well, that's amazing.
So there is a lot of people. There's some that are just same in the horse industry. It's very, absolutely not. They're not open. But there are, I would say it's equally weighted to ones that are, to ones that aren't.
It's funny. I had an interview with Joanne Carr from Omega Alpha, and the one thing that she said was, I just wish we could all play nicely in the sandbox.
Absolutely.
She said,
so right.
Yeah. So that was her catchphrase. I've really taken that on. She's absolutely right. And I've experienced some really good stuff with the vets that I've been using with our dog, because as I've mentioned many times in my episodes, that our dog has dormant now blastomycosis. Crazy, weird, sort of systemic type yeast infection. Only with him, it was really weird because it embedded in the bone of his paw. As long as we keep his immune system boosted and all these things. But as I've said before, when I spoke to the vet about all the things I was doing, and his response was, you know what? Hey, keep whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because it's working. The dog is on very good recovery.
And when you find that, it's fabulous. You sort of latch on to those vets because it is important. I mean, for example, in the DVM course, in any of the Ontario, take Ontario schools, for example, they don't even touch on lymphangitis. They don't touch on it because they can't test for it.
And what's that?
Lymphangitis is a disease in the lymph vessels.
Okay.
And it expresses in a way that it's like, do you know what cellulitis is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it expresses that same way. And it's a debilitating injury or illness.
Yeah.
And it's something that's not even on or in the DVM curriculum at all. And it's something quite prevalent in the equine industry.
Interesting.
And so they can't test for it. And so they just sort of throw the book at it. But this is an exact case where Ayurveda and natural, holistic, other, therapies excel there. Yeah. Yeah. And so this is where it would be fabulous to incorporate it, and take an integrative approach. And it would be fabulous because it would benefit the animal. And I think that's where we have to be. And I really have a focus in this next 5 years of showing the benefit, and saying, we can't there isn't one without the other. And let's all, like Joanne said, let's all play
Let's
nice
all
in the
play in the
sandbox because it
sandbox.
benefits everybody. It benefits the animal.
Absolutely.
And
And
that's
I
what it
think
should be about.
Yep. And we're definitely, I think, going in that direction, which is great. Now, apart from dealing with specific things that dogs or pets may manifest in illnesses, let's talk a little bit about your neuromyofascial practice and what you do with that. There's an equipment that you use with that, correct?
There is a tool, an activator, they call it.
Okay.
This doesn't replace chiropractic treatments by any means, but what it does is put motion into the joint. And it also releases the soft tissue and the neural response among the spinal structure. It's a phenomenal tool. It's a phenomenal practice that also uses with your hands a very, very non-invasive method of stretching and relieving tension in the fascial system. One big interconnected, uninterrupted band of connective tissue.
So this tool, would it be described sort of like a plunger type of tool?
Yeah, could sort of refer to it as that. And what it does is very, very, again, non-invasive.
Gentle.
Very gentle. Mm-hmm.
And so you work this down the spine, is that right? Or in the joints, the areas?
Absolutely. Starting at the head and work right down through to the sacrum, hips. Yep, absolutely. And then use my hands.
Okay. And your hands as well.
You're working manual therapy. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So you use your hands and you sort of connect with that nervous tissue, because what happens is you lose range of motion. Basically, when the fascia is restricted in any capacity, you're losing range of motion with the muscles and the joints, because it connects everything.
Right.
And so the other thing to keep in mind too, in making any physical changes to the body, is that they occur through the brain. So any kind of posture, what happens is their feet are their proprioception response.
Okay.
And that'll determine if something's off in the body, they will change their gait. They will change the way they move. But that goes through the brain. Those changes are initiated in the brain. Okay. And so in order to correct any postural changes, you've got to connect with the neural system. You need to neurologically change those patterns, release those postural infringements, and change how the brain responds to that area. It's never one modality kind of treatment in order to make those postural shifts or any kind of restrictions, even from an organ standpoint.
Okay, I see. So would this be something that someone would look towards if their dog had hip dysplasia or recovering from surgery, cruciate ligament,
trauma,
got hit by a car or something?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll prevent that compensatory response in the body in order to shift the natural movement pattern or posture.
I see. You also do cranial osteopathy, and I mentioned cranial sacral therapy in my last episode. So does this go in combination? And maybe you can describe what you do with the cranial osteopathy.
That is actually my favorite modality.
Oh, yeah?
I would say so. I mean, I love it all. And there's just a incredible connection when you have your hands on that animal and you're able to make those shifts, especially when you see that tension release. You feel that tissue underneath your hands change, and you know the effect it's going to have on the body. So it's very, very rewarding. But the cranial sacral is so important because I'm able to tie in something that's super important in the practice of Ayurveda, and that is chakra balancing. And what happens is that whole energy that stems from that root chakra and up and brings balance to the organs of the body, which again is what yoga does, right? I mean, yoga is a very important aspect of Ayurveda. It's a sister science to Ayurveda.
Yeah.
And so by balancing those chakras, you're balancing every aspect of your mental and physical energy. And so there are what's called bija mantras. And that is a very specific word that's spoken, or quietly you internalize it, and it provides a vibration. And that vibration on that chakra has the ability to release any tension. And so working with the cranial sacral system and the cerebrospinal fluid through the whole cranial system, you can connect with those same chakras utilizing the bija mantras. So it's really incredible. It's my absolute favorite opportunity to kind of balance. And the other part that's really important from a postural physical biomechanic perspective is the importance that the cranial bones have on the rest of the body. So
Okay.
what's going on in the hind end is extremely indicated from what you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling in the head. Quite a beautiful thing.
So you put your hands on the animal's head.
Right. So there's certain spots, there's
Okay.
certain cranial sutures that you're addressing. And what you're doing is relieving the tension. That's actually, there's cranial ligaments that run through.
Mm-hmm.
You're connecting with the cranial nerves. You're essentially connecting with the cerebrospinal fluid, which in a very, very subtle motion is what's also being sent to the bones. So it's that the bones have a very subtle shift to them, a
Mm-hmm.
very subtle
Okay.
movement, and that comes from your cerebrospinal fluid. And so it also is prevented when there is a blockage, and an energy block through that. And even with a horse, you could have your hands on the withers. So in terms of a dog, the
Okay.
back of the neck
Okay.
and around the lower back, and you can feel the flow of fluid very subtly. You feel that rhythm. When it's not there, that's an area of concern and to work on. And so it's hard to explain that feeling. It takes quite a while to.
I was gonna say you probably you have to learn to get
Oh yeah,
that touch, right?
you
Mm.
do. Yeah, yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
do. But the bones, the certain cranial bones, for example, the sphenoid bone in the face, which we have one as well, actually translates to further back into the pelvic area and have a
Mm.
direct correlation with the stifle
Okay. Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and the functionality of the stifle. So it's very interesting. And of course the TMJ and the effect the TMJ has on the rest of the body. So it's quite profound. And it's such a beautiful, it looks to people, they sort of look at you like, what exactly are you doing? You're just standing there.
Yeah.
But what you're achieving is so profound.
How do the dogs how do they react when you're actually working on them? Do they ever sort of move away or?
Well, that's the beauty of practitioners as a whole, is they have that ability to listen to the animal. Maybe not everyone, but I would say everybody that I've come across is just fabulous, and they allow for that movement. An animal has no, or horses and dogs especially, they have no frontal lobe. They have no reasoning. There is no executive function. So
Oh,
so you
okay.
have to allow them that capacity to either communicate in a way that's inherent to them. And so
Okay.
they move away is a sign that they maybe it's a little, your pressure is a little bit too much,
I see.
or there is a particular issue there, and so you work with them. So they move and they come back. It's beautiful. I mean, even with horses, you'll see that they'll move and
Mm-hmm.
and then they come back to you. So they
Mm-hmm.
move
Mm-hmm.
away from it. They do accept treatment very, very well, but they will move and come back and move and come back. So it's a communication. It's sort of which is quite interesting. Sometimes I would say your Vata dosha, especially, they're a little bit more reactive. So sometimes with the noise, the tool, the neuromyofascial tool, and so it perhaps takes them a minute. But I do find that dogs less is more than even horses, even though they're bigger. But
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, just the
Mm-hmm.
reception. Yeah.
What most conditions are people coming to you for that you would use this treatment with?
Anything. It could have been from previous trauma or surgery to senior issues, hip dysplasia, like you said, and you get a lot of. Yeah, I would say that's primarily. And sometimes there's maintenance. I mean, a lot of times I
Hmm.
have clients that are just sort of like, the dog's aging, it's going as
Yeah.
kind of a maintenance. I'm treating them internally in terms of the herbs and nutrition and lifestyle, and this is just sort of a component to keep them happy. And again, this is great. The PEMF machine is fabulous for this purpose as well. It maintains the cellular respiration, and it's a fabulous tool, especially for any pain and inflammation.
You've mentioned some of the things that you use when you're dealing with health issues and you're putting together herbal
Mhm.
concoctions, etc. So I'm assuming that this is through your company, Neachai. Talk about the things that you have that you can put together for pets and how you got to that and your company.
Absolutely. So I started Nietzsche about 12 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess again, Cole's Notes version. It started when people started to asking, hey, you're using this. Can you make me this? Can you make me that? And it kind of very organically turned into a business. And so
Okay.
it sort of we grew from there. And I would go around and do sort of seminars and formative seminars at different barns, and introduce people to the products. And I've developed everything that you see that are on my website, and everything I've developed myself. They're all proprietary blends based on the knowledge of Ayurvedic medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
these formulations have been around for thousands and thousands of years. I have a little different version, of certain things, because with the animals, of course, it's different. So for people, like we do blends for the horses and for some dogs, the larger dogs. For people, we cannot
Mm-hmm.
digest easily roots and stems and things like that. So it's really important that it be made into a decoction, so liquid. Whereas the horses, that's their inherent nutrition. That's their food, is roots and stems, and this is what they eat. So we use that direct herbs in packaging. All of the products are proprietary and formulated here in our shop here in Fort Erie. And we actually
Mm-hmm.
are putting out a medicated ghee canine line. And that is in the works right now, which is really exciting. And
Oh,
it will be international distribution.
okay.
And all of the products are always made with
Mm-hmm.
3 variations, and that's the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, because not one herb works the same for all 3
Okay.
doshas. It metabolizes, and its post-digestive effect and metabolic effect on the body is different in each dosha. So there's no one size fits all. So it's not a matter of
Okay.
saying, yep, everyone should have turmeric. Nope, not everyone should have turmeric. And so, so each blend is made and formulated with the 3 variations to what is exactly metabolically appropriate for that dosha. And so the same with the ghee.
What would they be looking to? What would this be for specifically?
We treat everything.
Oh.
So typically what happens with, again, if we're doing it online, which a lot of, right now, a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are ordering online. And what happens is they just will send us a photo. And by a photo, I can determine the dosha.
Okay.
So, and then once I know the dosha and I know the symptomology, the symptomology, then I will just, tell them exactly what product they need, and they just select it right from the website.
I see. So would
Yep.
this be
And
like a skin thing or?
absolutely.
Okay.
So if somebody comes to me and says, yep, the animal's got a skin issue and so on, I find a little bit more information about that, or a photo. And what I will treat is I'll make a medicated ghee, treat the gut, and provide what we have, a cream that we have that I developed called Dublin Dip. And it's a fabulous cream, which it's got some very important oils in there, neem oil.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some butters, aloe vera gel, colloidal silver, some really heavy hitters
Mm-hmm.
that help with the actual skin.
Nice.
And so we treat it both internally and externally.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You
Mm-hmm.
do first aid salves. Is that a word
Yeah,
I could use?
yeah, that's the
Okay.
Dublin Dip. Yep,
That's the
Dublin
Dublin dip. Okay.
and it has a liquid sort of version as well with the bacterial wash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the kind of liquid, cleansing solution, which works really well for dogs, especially that are difficult to treat,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to wash it off.
Okay.
So things like that. We have developed a product called Collagen Connect,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one of the things that we use in the treatment for ACL injuries,
Oh,
because it has a 90% absorption rate.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. And so we also have our bug off solution, which can be used 3 ways. So it prevents fleas and ticks.
Oh.
You can use it as a bath. You can use it as a shampoo. You can spray it on them before they go out, before they go outside. It's the same one we use for the horses.
I was really wanted to ask you about that because I wondered
Yeah.
if you had any alternative to flea and tick and worms.
Absolutely. So the Florafix is what we have. That's a dewormer.
Okay.
The one that's sold on the website is for horses,
Mm-hmm.
but you would just contact us and through the website and say you're looking for a dog, and that's no problem. We give it in powder form, or I can make it into a ghee or a liquid, depending on whatever your dog's palatability
Mm-hmm.
is, and size. Sometimes it's the size is important too, because you want the liquid decoction will be stronger. And then we do sell neem powder, pure organic neem powder, and for the fleas and ticks,
Mm-hmm.
and we recommend it's given from spring to fall.
Do they ingest it?
Yep, goes right in their food. And yeah, put a little bit of water on it, mix it up, depending on what you give.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's at 97% effective. Neem oils or neem in general
Yep.
is absolutely amazing.
Okay. If you give this to them internally, is it doing something that is going out through the dog's skin so that the ticks don't
Absolutely.
jump on them and attach?
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah, and
that's
at
awesome.
times you might find something on there. If they're long-coated animals,
Yeah.
you might find something on the coat, but they're not going to latch on.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah, so
fantastic.
it's really important that it start really, sort of March, April,
Mm-hmm.
in order to have the chemical compound
Yeah.
within, build within the body. So
Mm-hmm. What about worms?
yeah, the Florafix, that's for the worms.
Florafix.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people are looking for alternatives for worming.
Yeah.
They want something a little bit more, so that they don't have to go to the vet
Yep.
and get worm pills. They just want, I just need to do something, I do it routinely once a year or whatever they do.
Right.
And they're looking for that.
Absolutely.
They really are.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's the Florafix.
And we do really well with that. I mean, we've got excellent. I mean, Ayurveda has this is sort of a tried and tested for thousands of years, these herbs against even the toughest of parasites.
Wow. So like even a tapeworm.
Oh yeah. Oh, and strongyles. Yep. Absolutely.
Wow.
Bloodworms. Yep. We do really, really well, especially with the horses. I mean, we've been able to take, there's, again, neem is just a beautiful thing. There is another herb. When I have a horse that has maybe a really high count, they have difficulty even, they might need 1 or 2 cycles of the Florafix, which is a 7-day cycle. I'll use another herb called Bidanga, and it's a fabulous seed, and it's meant for intestinal kind of infestations.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Last year we gave our dog Tundra, we gave him, one of the big ones on the market for flea and ticks because he had a couple of ticks at the beginning of the season. Yep. And no, he didn't have ticks after that. That's true. However, we did find that he was fairly unwell for about 24 to 48 hours after the dose. Yeah. And then when you got anywhere near him to give him the other one, oh my goodness, it's not like the look on his face was just, please don't do this to me. Yeah. And I thought, you must feel horrible with this. Yep. There's got to be an alternative.
Exactly. And I mean, and this is what horse people are experiencing as well. I mean, it's so dangerous, and it's beyond dangerous. There's a lot of deaths created as a result. A lot of the chemicals are not tested. That's a whole nother topic.
That's a scary thing. That is,
it's very scary. But what happens as well is you give the horses your, ivermectin and your different dewormers, and the dogs are eating the feces are, the farm dogs are coming around and eating. Right. And it's a major problem, and the dogs are dying. Like it's toxic. I mean, are we ever going to not be exposed to the level of toxicity? No, that's not realistic. There's 77,000 man-made toxins that we're exposed to. But what we need to do is minimize and say, look, where can we avoid this at all costs? And it's, if we can start to kind of weed out some of these things that are not safe for our animals or not safe for us, then, we're going to start to see some change, I think. And I think that's when we're going to really look at a little bit more of an integrative approach.
Yeah, I think that's actually, exactly what you're saying. And that also brings me back to this whole idea about people being more open to learning things. Right. And so when someone say they've never been, they don't understand, they've never heard of Ayurvedics, but they do know that you can help them in some way. Are you able to, how do you give them information about how your approach is and how do they react with that?
Well, I get a lot of sort of situations where it's like, we've tried everything, I don't know what to do. Here's what I'm dealing with. Figure it out. And I love it.
Okay.
That's where we excel in this type of situation. I love it because I know it can help. I wake up and go to sleep wanting to do just that. That's all I want, is just to provide a little bit of relief or help animals and that's what drives me. That's why I do this. So it's, it's a lot of times they don't understand what it is, to be honest, or they've just heard, hey, you helped my friend's dog or my horse or so on and so on. Can you help me? And they a lot of times don't understand it. And in fact, I've met quite a few people who don't even care to understand it. They just say, Jill, what do I do?
Just help me.
Send me whatever you're going to send me and tell me whatever I've got to do and I'll do it.
Right. Yeah, I can see that, you know.
So and I just say, okay, I have a great client. She's a doll, and she's got a string of horses, and she says the same thing. She says, I don't know what you do, because people will say, what is she doing? And she'll say, I don't know. Just trust her. Trust me.
Yeah. That's okay too.
Yeah. So it's,
that's okay.
but yeah, so it's, I explain and go through that process of what it is that we're doing. And actually you wouldn't believe how many people I've heard, I would say over the last 2 years, that now say, I've heard of Ayurveda, I've heard of this. And so it's just incredible. And it just lights me right up.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Now that we got some different things going on in order to help people, do you have to see the pet in person, or
no?
Can you
no,
do
I
it
don't.
other assessments?
So I do ideally to go through a full assessment. Yes. Do I need to see the tongue? Yeah. But a lot of times they can just send photos for me, and it's fabulous.
Okay.
I do like to check pulse, but so these sort of things. I would say if there was an acute situation, I'd want to see the dog, because I need to check those things, pulse, eyes, things like that. But I would say 90% of what I'm seeing with the dogs, because animals are so spiritual and energetic in a way that they show so much. It's different. People are, it's a lot different to work on, excuse me, an animal than it is a person. And so I can just have a photo, and I'll ask for like a body shot and a head shot, including the eye, and just an idea, sort of tell me what's happening, and I ask the questions, and that's all I need. Could
they send you a video?
They could send me a video. Yeah. Sometimes I've got clients in the States that have dogs with certain spinal issues and things like that. So they send me a video of what's happening and how they're like behavioral problems. Something I treat very, very well is behavioral problems. And so we have a look at how they're interacting through that video with the other animal, or whatever the situation is, to sort of prompt that situation to occur, and then I can evaluate it as it's happening. So that is helpful as well. But actually I do very well off of sort of asking the right questions and a photo.
Okay, because I know, right now we've had to change the way we do a lot of things. So in-person consultations are just not always going to be available. And so, yeah, that's great if people can do that. How would they contact you, and what's your website and everything? Can you give that?
So the website is www.neachai.ca, and that's NEACHAI. Canine products are not on the website as of yet, but everything that you do see there is available for canines as well. It's just the dosing is a little different. And so I just ask that you can contact through the website directly, or any of our socials, like Facebook, the Facebook page, Neachai corporate page, and even the treatment. We have a separate treatment social media as well. That's the Fascia Fit, which stands for Fascial Integration Therapy. And I can be contacted there directly as well, and through email, which is, again, all on the website, neachaiequine@gmail.com.
It's just so they don't get confused. Just because it says equine doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to contact you about their dogs and their goats. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's just the products are not up, because we're working on a and it's going through the Health Canada is a bit of a process in itself. So it just takes. And all of our products are registered veterinary health products. So they, I've had them registered with Health Canada, and so it's just going through this process with the GI line. So that'll take a little bit of time, but it's
that's okay. But eventually it'll get there. But yeah, that's wonderful.
We're hoping for the fall. We're hoping for a big launch in the fall.
Oh, nice, very good. So I guess the bottom line on everything really is that for you're looking at the animal as a whole, using the Ayurvedic background to figure out where they sort of fit, and then going forward from there to see if you can help with any of the issues that's presenting specifically from that, I guess, from that particular type of
disturbance or disease.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we bring the body back into balance using that, the nutrition and the herbs but I'd like to say as well, I guess, that we do work with a lot of vets. So there's situations where the animal is on medication, permanently for whatever the ailment, and so we support that. So we support those systems. So the liver, the stomach, if they're on certain things, and when they decide they're doing, they're going through the vaccine process, that we can support that. But when they're going through that, or the necessity of a steroid for a temporary use, we can support the use of that by protecting the other systems in the body.
Right. That's
because
wonderful.
That's what happens. It's the breakdown of the tissue, the catabolic process. By giving these medicines, that is the destroyer of health. And so if we can support that while they're on those medicines, we can work in conjunction with, and not just a matter of stop what you're doing, let's replace it with this.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We work together.
Yeah. That's the whole idea of complementary, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And, no one's to think that you're going to be turning around saying you need to come off of that medication. Far from it. No.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I mean, it's a choice. There's a lot. Basically, we do really, really well treating endocrine system issues. And so the medicine that's given for horses, it's Prosand or Pergolide. They can absolutely come off of that with a product, and and the vet will test certain levels, just keep testing certain levels. That's what they do, and and they're very successful in that. But there's situations where it's a matter of life and death, and they need to stay on that. And I absolutely get that. I mean, I have epilepsy, and I have medication that I take on a daily basis. That's mandatory. But I support the systems that the medicine will break down particular tissues in the body, right? So I support that. And that's and that's what I do to stay healthy and keep my immune system strong. And so that's what we advocate for.
Absolutely.
Is a strong relationship in maintaining health. So
no, it's wonderful. Well, I'm so wow. There's so much to learn, and I think we'll have to put another episode together to chat with you again, because there's so much to learn.
Oh, you know what? It's almost like each particular area could have its own podcast.
Absolutely,
it's such an intense, complex,
absolutely
system.
Yeah, this is just a tip of the iceberg, I think.
Definitely.
But I really thank you so much, Theresa, for taking this time to speak to me today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I know you were very busy, but it's such a great thing to add into my series here of alternative and complementary care with pets. I'm so thrilled about that, and what you do is truly amazing, and that you can, the way that you can impart your ability to change the lives of horses and animals, dogs, it's remarkable, really is. So I'm so glad that I was able to put in touch with you. Thank you so much. So I would love to have you on again for another chat.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to thank you so much for doing this, and definitely stay safe out there.
Thank you.
All right. And we will be definitely talking soon. Thank you again.
You're very welcome.
Well, that was an amazing talk with Theresa Gilligan. There was so much information. It just goes to show that practitioners of alternative treatments and medicines really, really need to know their stuff. The world of Ayurveda, as pointed out, has been around for thousands of years, so the evolution of the practice is not going to be learned in a hurry. You have to admire people who dedicate themselves so heartily to specializing in an approach that can help animals on so many levels. The intensity and focus of Ayurveda, in particular for animals, requires so much learning and practice, and you can just hear the expertise of Theresa coming through as she talked so passionately about her practice. Well, if Theresa Gilligan's practice has resonated with any listeners, I'm sure Theresa would be more than happy to hear from you with any concerns for your pets. And I'm sure she would be more than happy to impart her amazing knowledge because, as I say, knowing is caring. Thank you for listening to Val Talks Pets. Please remember to follow or subscribe to ensure that you never miss an episode. To really help the show, please stop by iTunes and rate and review each episode that you find interesting and helpful. And don't forget that you can also email me at val@valtalkspets.com with topics you would like me to address or with any questions you may have. Also, check out my website at valtalkspets.com and let me know what you think and what you would like to see. Thanks for caring!